Agents of the Atesh partisan movement reported that Russian servicemen in the Kherson direction are dying or receiving severe injuries due to the use of expired ammunition and Soviet-era explosions for equipping drones. The pro-Ukrainian movement reported this on its Telegram channel. According to information published by Atesh, the incident occurred in a unit of the 11th Airborne Assault Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces. Agents reported 3 servicemen received severe injuries while equipping drones with explosives. The reason was a combination of negligence and the use of outdated components from the Soviet era. According to the partisans, the Russian army ignores the threat, continuing to use expired ammunition despite the risk to personnel. The Atesh movement appealed to the servicemen of the Russian armed forces with a call not to risk their lives by carrying out criminal orders, emphasizing that for the command, soldiers are just expendable material. Recall, Russia has been forced to issue old ammunition that was previously categorized as unfit for use, with its army dealing with major munition shortages in Ukraine. Russia has almost certainly already resorted to issuing old munitions stock, which were previously categorized as unfit for use. Shortages in artillery ammunition have likely worsened to the extent that extremely punitive shell rationing is in force on many parts of the front. Russia has been using aged equipment throughout its invasion of Ukraine, which started in February 2022, including some equipment that dates back to the Soviet Union. This includes taking Soviet-era tanks out of storage to fight, as it suffers heavy losses of its tanks, and using less accurate Soviet-era missiles. Soviet-era arms storage bases are one of the primary sources that still allow the Russian armed forces to fight despite massive losses on the battlefield. Russia has been removing supplies of tanks, armored vehicles, and artillery from these storage bases since 2022. The arms produced in the 1940s to 1960s, many of which were decommissioned many years or decades ago, have returned to the battlefield. The stored arms are also massively cannibalized for spare parts, which Russian arms factories and hundreds of field arms repair facilities utilize. These storage bases are not endless, despite Russia keeping thousands of tanks and howitzers after 1991. Moreover, Russia cannot replenish these arms and material. If Ukraine can maintain a high level of combat intensity and the mounting level of Russian losses continues in 2025, it will be much harder for the Russian army to maintain its military power for offensive operations. Russia's resources are not endless, and Russia could finally be defeated in the war in the foreseeable future. The main precondition here is continued and scaled military assistance to Ukraine.
Video footage has circulated in social media, showing successful operation of drones and missiles by Ukraine's domestic fire point company. Dramatic footage shows drones soaring in the sky. The FP-1 unmanned aerial vehicles strike targets at a distance of up to 1,700 kilometers, while the FP-2 drone have a range of up to 200 kilometers. The Flamingo long-range missile, produced by the company, is capable of striking Russian targets at ranges of up to 3,000 kilometers and delivers a payload of 1,150 kilograms. The missile has the capacity to reach Russian capital Moscow as well. These strikes effectively destroy Russia's military potential. In October, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the first use of ground-launched FP-5 Flamingo cruise missile against targets in Russia. Zelensky described Flamingo as the most successful missile that Ukraine currently has. Ukrainian army on November 13 released footage of Flamingo missile. Last week, Ukrainian troops launched dozens of long-range attacks on Russian targets, including those in Crimea Peninsula and southern Zaporizhia region. The attacks also involved domestically produced long-range Flamingo missile, as well as Bars missiles and Ludi drones. In Russian-annexed Crimea, Ukrainian missiles struck an oil terminal, a helicopter parking site and drone storage sites in Korvsky airfield, as well as an air defense radar station in Yevpatoria. Over the weekend, Ukraine launched strikes oil refineries and power plants, some of which were launched by Flamingo missiles. In addition, some of the attacks launched on Oryol, Novorossiysk, and Samara regions on Monday, were carried out by Flamingo missiles.